We're in Messilas Yesharim, Perek Gimel, towards the end. The subject is how to do Zahirus. Means in Perek Beis he spoke about Zahirus in general. They translate it as vigilance, awareness, consciousness, and that is that a person should be aware of what he's doing. Very simple and basic, and it's a chiddush that people don't do it naturally. But that he says that it's the Yetzer Hara who's behind it. Tachbulas HaYetzer, his strategy is to get people not to think. And by not thinking, he already won the war. So besides the natural, people are in their own habits and they don't stop to think. If they realize it was dangerous, they would stop. But that's one problem. They don't realize how dangerous it is. That sin is lurking behind the corner, and the fact that the Yetzer Hara also is trying to dafka trip up people to be too busy, like he said, like Paro, that tichbar avoda. People are so busy that they're going faster in their own habits of whatever they're doing, and they don't have time to see the signs, so to speak. And he said Hashem has to help. Means if a person does whatever he could do, so then you have Hashem's help. If a person doesn't do what he could, so then he doesn't have the heavenly assistance. After that, in Perek Gimel, we're in the middle of the dissecting how to do it. What does it include? And he prefaced that there are two subjects that a person has to study in order to have this introspection. One is to know what's right and what's wrong. And the second one is to see what he's doing. If his life is living up to what he realizes is right and wrong. It's a big chiddush that a person starts in that order, because most people would think that I know already what's right and wrong, I just have to see if I'm doing that. But he says no, first stop and think what's right and what's wrong. And the most of the perek has been around that issue, revolving around that issue, that people don't realize that if they would think more seriously, they might come to different conclusions of what they think is right. And at this point, it doesn't seem like he's asking people to go study from big sources, not from people or not from books, but that he should just think himself what he knows is right already, and then to see if he's living up to what he knows.
A person has the inner intelligence. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Whatever intelligence he has.
It shouldn't refer to any outside.
No. He surely should. But it just, maybe I didn't explain, maybe based on last week, that the point is just that he should start with what he himself knows is right. Afterwards, as he goes on, like he says later on in the Kiyos, in 2 stages ahead, he says that a person is not born wise and he surely has to find wisdom. But the chiddush here is that people don't even do what they themselves would say is right. They're not connected to their own right and wrong. So they don't even know themselves what is right. There are many examples. I think one example that stands out to me is tefillah, davening. That if a person, you'd ask a person to think, what is davening? I think that he would come up with a lot of an outline that doesn't fit to what he thought until then. That davening means talking to Hashem. That alone is a very strong statement. A person is talking to Hashem. I think that it changes. If people would realize that, they would change very many aspects of their davening. Keep it over aim if a person would think, what does that mean? Without even going to any forum. Surely, the more a person goes deeper into any subject, he'll find out more. And I think that this subject of Zahirus doesn't stop as the first level. As far as the person is going to go, he's always going to be a Zohir on his level. It means if he's going to become the next level of a Zohir, and then the Kiyos, Parush, he's going to be a Zohir in Precious. Because it means being aware of what he's doing. His level is going to become higher, and then he's going to have to be applying his new level and see if he's doing it. So Zahirus, even on the level of Kedusha, Ruach HaKodesh, I'm sure the Navi also has to be a Zohir. He has to have Cheshbon HaNefesh. Am I living up to what I am supposed to at this level? So it's a general idea of being aware of oneself. But we're saying that before a person even goes into other sources, see if he's living up to what he himself would say is the proper thing to do. To stop and think, what is the proper thing to do? And he spoke about Pishpush and Mishmush, which he translated, meaning that not only should a person investigate when he notices something that is bad, but even in the good, there might be some bad intention. Means if a person's motivation is bad, so then even though the act is a good act, but if his motivation is bad, so then that's a faulty act. And also Chelek Ra, there might be some, even though the act in general is a good act, but they might have some parts of it that are wrong. And example would be a person giving tzedakah, but he's giving it in public. the person gets embarrassed. If you want to give tzedakah, so it's a good thing, but make sure that all of the anybody that's involved, then it's going to be affected by it. So it should be doing good for him also. He sums up that hergo ra, nida ra, haver pesha, that a person is on the lookout to clean up any bad habits or bad character, and surely an avera. He says that a person should constantly weigh his ways. Later on, we're going to see that the word ways seems to mean the klalim, that this issue, the hashkafa rishona, what he calls the first introspection, to know what's right and what's wrong. The person has to figure that out. That's what a person has to be constantly updating. I think the word would be updating. A person has to update his values and see if what he thought yesterday is still correct. Maybe something that he learned or that he experienced shows that he made a mistake, and the value system has to be changed. Then he has to see if he's living up to his new value system. But when he talks about the socharim gedolim, that the daktek v'shochel drochav dvar yom b'yamo, it seems like that's what they're doing. The big socharim, they're seeing which way the market is going. They're not just doing bookkeeping. The bookkeeper, they got a bookkeeper to do bookkeeping, but the actual the businessman on top of the company. I'm speaking like I know, but I imagine that's the way it is. That's looking which way the direction is going, what he should invest in now. Last year he made such an investment, it was good for the time, but now he sees that it's tapering off. He has to invest in something else. If he should advertise, where should he advertise? What's his target? I imagine that's what the person on top is doing. He's looking at his business not from the bookkeeping aspect. So this is hashkafa rishona. This is the first point of knowing what's right and what's wrong. Always updating his set of values, which you get from learning, experience, other people's experiences, learn from other people's mistakes. You don't have to wait until you have your own mistakes. You can learn from other people. A wise man, if he hears, doesn't have to be dafka from official study. It could be also from learning that he hears from somebody saying some wisdom. It could be nowadays shirim, of course, all kinds of ways of hearing wisdom. So you heard a good shir, a good drasha and shul, he heard some wisdom, so to update what he thought till now he thought there was a certain guideline of what this midah is. It might be a midah, it might be a mitzvah, and now that he got updated, so he has to make a different value system. Then he gave a mashal of then he brings the pasuk which Chazal darshan that it has to be Moslim b'Yitzram from the people who says this advice. It seems like a simple advice, but he says no, that only the Moslim b'Yitzram from the people who have already succeeded, they're the ones who are able to give this advice. Most people would say, I don't need it. I think that his point again is to say the hashkafa rishona, hashkafa shniya. No one's going to say I don't need bookkeeping. That's not but you have to be a wise person to say that I'm not convinced that I know what is right and what is wrong. I have to re-study what my value system is. And he brings the pasuk that says Tashas choshech v'hiloila, that the world is compared to a night, to the darkness of night. And he's very impressed with the mashal. He says that the nighttime, the darkness of night, can cause two mistakes. One is that you don't see anything at all, and the other one is that you see but you don't know what you're seeing, and that sometimes is more dangerous. If you don't see, both of them are dangerous. I think he says that this one is even worse. He says, is that true? Kashem and Avishin. He says the second mistake is even more dangerous than the first one, and that is that he has some optical illusion. He sees something, he thinks he knows what he's seeing, and he really is something else. He says you might see a pillar, you think that it's a person you think that it's a pillar, and the danger of that is he explains in his nimshal that a person thinks right is wrong, wrong is right, and that's even worse than not realizing the wrong. He thinks that it's right, and he's going to take it on as a mitzvah. Like they say, people don't speak lashon hara. Only when it's a mitzvah to speak lashon hara. But then that's the issue. When is it a mitzvah to speak lashon hara? So when it becomes a mitzvah, then it's very hard to deal with him. Very hard to get corrected. So he says that's a very big danger. That when people don't have the hashkafa rishona straight. Again, the hashkafa rishona means the person's values, when he knows what's right or what's wrong. So he calls that the mistake of the darkness. And in his mashal, he said darkness. The mashal is the person's walking. So in the street, with the stumbling blocks, and the darkness of light darkens his eyesight, and he'll fall on a stumbling block. And the nimshal is going to be, the darkness is not darkness, physical darkness, but it means he calls it the chomriyos. He says that the physicality of the world, is that what he says? Choshech halayla. He says, the physicality and the materialism of this world that's the darkness, not to the physical eye, but to the eye of the intellect. and that's going to cause him to stumble on sin. That's going to be the nimshal of the stumbling block. And when they think something is right, they're going to bring proofs, and they think that they're even more encouraged that they're right, that they're wrong, that their right is right, and they're not open. Please. So up to that's as far as we got last time, and now we're up to the end of Perek Gimel. He's continuing with this point of realizing this necessity to do cheshbon. And the cheshbon at this point includes studying what's right and what's wrong. Of course, the second part of the part is also that that person has to see his bookkeeping. Am I doing what I know? Am I living up to my knowledge? But the main point he seems to be stressing is that a person has to get his rights and wrongs. He has to realize, what is Hashem asking of us? So the paragraph I starts by Ach Osam Shekvar Yatsu. Anybody have a different paragraph division? Ach Osam Shekvar Yatsu min ha'maser hazeh. Those people have already gone out of this bondage. They see the truth. They could counsel other people. That was the mashal. That was the medrash that I said earlier. That the Moshlim v'Yitzram, those people that are in charge, they're in control of their Yetzer Hara, they're able to guide other people. So now he's saying that only the people who are out of the bounds, the binds of their Yetzer Hara, of the evil inclination, they're able to give this advice that this is the way to do it. The person has to stop, slow down, like he says, the Yetzer Hara is pushing always that a person should always be busy, to slow down and contemplate what is right, what is wrong, what does Hashem ask of me. And he gives a comparison. It means a maze. They call it a labyrinth. They say, I heard that even in Italy, where that's where the Ramchal was from, I heard that it still exists. These kind of hedges that are very tall hedges, and it's a maze, and a human maze. You go through the maze, and you don't. All the pathways seem similar. You don't know what the right way to get to. That's a mashli he uses for our world. Our world is a maze. This is something for the nobility. This was the game of the nobility.
Yeah.
You have to be very rich to have such a game. You have to have the whole hedge, all of the hedges that are. You know about it?
Yeah. They used to make a big, tall
Tower,
and the nobility sat in the tower,
Uh-huh.
and they had people going in through the maze to see how. I guess they had a test, and the one who won or something. But that's how it was. Yeah, it was hedges,
have you ever seen it? You've ever seen it?
pictures.
Pictures.
I've seen something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's using that as the mashal for what life is about. So he explains it in detail. It's interesting how he goes into detail to explain what it is. That is the garden that is planted for amusement by the nobility. Shanatios asiyos ksolim ksolim. The hedges, the plants, the hedges, I guess, are made as walls. Uveineim shvilim rab. There are many pathways in between them. Nevuchim umoravim.
A lot of dead ends, and you don't know which way.
Right, assorted and complex. Kulam domim zelos. They're all similar. And the purpose, the goal of the game, is to be able to reach the tower that's in the middle of the whole maze. Some of these pathways, some of them are straight, and they really do lead to that tower. Some of the pathways, they're fooling the person and making him even further than he was, taking him in the wrong direction. He can't see where he's going. The person who is amongst the paths, he cannot know and cannot see and know at all if he's in the true path or in the false one. Because they're all similar and there's no difference to the seeing eye. Only if you know the road, because you recognize it not by any simanim, but more that you recognize the path not because of any exact markers. If you've been there already, then you know how to get there. You know the directions. I'm not sure why he throws in that. There must be a nimshal for that also. Why he has to tell us that a person who's been there already will know how to go through the maze again. If anybody, once we finish the whole mashal and nimshal, if anybody could explain what he wants us to learn from that point, that you can go into the maze again. It always perplexes me that doesn't seem to be necessary for what he wants to bring out. He wants to bring out that in the beginning, people who haven't gotten to the center, so they don't know how to get there. And you need somebody who's already been there, that he could tell you that's the way to go. That I understand. But to say the mashal that the person who's been there already, he can go back into the maze. What's the nimshal of a person who's
Happens to fall into it again. You know,
so what would be the nimshal? Right? What would be the case of a person falling into it again?
you made a mistake. You figured out how to get out of it, and then the situation came again. Say it was a relationship, and then this person came into your life again, and
So what is the maze he's referring to? What is the nimshal? What is so complicated in life that he says you have to have the wise men to guide us, to tell us this counsel, and then we have to see if it's possible to fall into it again. Let's just see how he explains himself. The person who's already reached. He came into the center, to that building, tower, whatever. Achsadra doesn't mean really in a tower. I guess some kind of usually Achsadra is referred to as like a pergola kind of a thing that has a roof. Whatever the case would be, it doesn't make
sunroof.
a sunroof. It doesn't really make a difference as far as the mashal, but just the translation. It seems that it's elevated, so he could see all of the roads, and he could discern which are the true roads and which are the false roads. And he could warn those that are still in the paths to direct them which way to go. This is the proper path, go in it. Whoever wants to trust him, to believe him, he will reach the destination. But a person who doesn't want to trust him, he wants to go after his own eyes. Over here, his own eyes won't help him anything because he can't tell the difference between the different paths. He's going to remain lost. He's not going to reach the destination. That's all the mashal. A very detailed mashal of this maze, human maze. So too is this issue about going through life. He who did not yet control his and rule over his evil inclination, he's still amongst the pathways. He's not able to discern between them. And he doesn't know which is the right path that's going to take him to perfection. But the people who have controlled their evil inclination, they've already conquered it. They already, in the mashal, they already reached the center tower. They left all of these complicated paths. When they see all of the different possibilities, they're the ones who could counsel to whoever wants to listen. And to them we have to trust, we have to believe them. And what do they tell us? What are these sages who have already, tzaddikim, that have already overcome the complication of life with all of its different complexities and falseness? What did they tell us? How to get through it? What is the counsel that they give us? Come make a reckoning. Make the reckoning, the most important reckoning of the world. And that means what he said till now, that a person should figure out, students contemplate what is right, what is wrong, and then afterwards to see his actions, if he's aligned with his thoughts, means that his actions are aligned with his thoughts.
Isn't there a pasuk in Tanakh, Bo Cheshbon?
That's it. That's what he's talking about. Bo Cheshbon, right? But the Pashup he's saying that it's a drash. The Pashup Shad Bo Cheshbon means come to the city of Cheshbon.
Yes.
And the drash says Bo Cheshbon.
On the other side of the Arctic.
Right. That's what he's referring to. He says it earlier. Last week we didn't say the pasuk. Now it's in Bamidbar 21:27. So the Moshlim means Moshlim v'Yisram, those who conquered their evil inclination. And what do they say? Bo Cheshbon, come make a reckoning. That's the wisdom that these righteous people, they say, make a reckoning. What's the reckoning? So he told us the reckoning includes two parts. One is to contemplate what is right, what is wrong. Not concerning me. That's also a very smart advice. People, once they say, I do it, so then they're ready on the defense. Because I do it. So it's much harder to say that I'm wrong. But he tells you first to think abstract. What is the abstract right and what is the abstract wrong about any given subject? Which takes time, that a person should break down the subjects of his life. What are the topics of concern in his life? What does he come in contact with? Of course, there's going to be financial, and there's health, and there's relationships, Torah. I'm sure there are more. Midos, character, all these different topics. So, and the midos itself could be broken down to all the different types of character traits. A person has to define for himself, what does that mean to him? What is it? So he's telling us to contemplate. This contemplation is the first thing to know what's right and what's wrong. Get all the rights and wrongs as much as we know to get it straight.
Leading a lot of free time.
So at this point, he wants, it's true, you do need time. But it could be that not so much time is necessary, maybe less than we think. when a person would have, it should be really part of his learning sessions, because that's what learning is all about. In order to be able to do the learning that's going to be just abstract and doesn't apply and it doesn't have any application to his actual life, is not as valuable as the main purpose of learning is in order to do. The main point of learning is in order to bring to action. So when a person learns, he should be able to close the book and say, what do I know now? What am I going to do different now that I did differently till now? So that's the subject about Bo Cheshbon. Bo Cheshbon Shalom. Because they already have experienced and seen and known that this is the only true path that could bring a person to the good that he seeks and nothing else. He's very strong about it. He says this is the only way. The only way to get onto the path of righteousness is that a person should contemplate and figure out what is right, what is wrong. And then, contemplation number 2, what am I doing? Am I living up to my knowledge? There's a very interesting phenomenon by people that I once heard a Ramchal, I thought it was very nice. If his head would be not aligned with his body, let's say his 180 degrees turned. He's looking backwards. It's very uncomfortable. If his head is not aligned with his body, it's very uncomfortable. So there are 3 possibilities. One is to turn his body to be aligned with his head. One is to turn his head to be aligned with his body. And one is just leave it like that. So most people, they don't like to be uncomfortable like that. They don't like to stay like that. So most people, they turn their head to be aligned with their body. And the mashal would be that the mind is what he knows is right, and the body is what he's doing. You know, the knowledge and the acts. People, it's much easier to just change your head that to align my right to be aligned to my actions, but the right way to do is that he should get his head straight and then turn the actions to be able to be aligned with the body. If he can't do that, then the suggestion would be to remain that way. They call it cognitive dissonance. That a person, that's what they told me, that it means when a person is not in psych, he's not aligned with what he knows. It's very uncomfortable. So a person, l'chora, if he's not ready to change his actions, he should rather stay in that state to be uncomfortable. One day he'll be able to change it then. But if he's going to change his head to be aligned with his body, he's going to change his attitudes. That's what most people do. They try to keep that, they don't want to think differently than their actions. So he's trying to tell us not to. He's trying to tell us, get your head straight. And the way he does that is, first is, don't look at what you're doing. First, think abstract, what is the right thing? Then his head goes a certain way. And then work that your body should be aligned with your head. That seems to be the advice that he's giving us. And he says, if you don't think about it, you're not going to realize it. You're not going to even think about the value system, what is important, what does Hashem want. And when you have 2 things that come in conflict, so which one is gover, which one is overpowering, which one do you have to forfeit for the other one? It's a limud, all the midos. It's like you say, you need a lot of time. But whatever time a person does have, he should dedicate to this study. And even as Torah learning is obviously supposed to be right and wrong. If there are 2 subjects of learning, this is a big subject also. If there are 2 subjects of learning, Torah, and one of them is more applicable to him, he's surely supposed to study the applicable one before the abstract. If there's a parsha in the Torah or a Gemara, a Masechta that is not as applicable, so then he should learn the Masechta which is more applicable. That would be, the Chafetz Chaim says so. He talks about Orach Chaim. He talks about, he wrote the Mishnah Berurah. He wrote the Mishnah Berurah on the section of Shulchan Aruch which is more applicable to daily life. And he said, some people learn, I forgot which one he was talking about, which other section people learn first, and he said, no, this is more applicable. So you have to learn in order to live your life correctly according to the Torah. So that's what he wants us to do, to make a reckoning, what is right and what is wrong, and then the second one is to see what am I doing. And the last paragraph he sums it up, to sum it all up, a person has to constantly contemplate in his mind at all times and in set times when he's by himself. Interesting, he says at all times. But all times mean that he should be conscious of it whenever he could. But then he also says set aside designated time slots when he's by himself. It's interesting because if it only would be for learning, you don't have to be by yourself. In order to learn, on the contrary, learning is good with a chabura. It's better to be with a group of people, with a chabrusa or with a group, in order to learn a material. But he says here, as far as this kind of contemplation, he says is better to be by himself. There's bodhidos. The word bodhidos literally means that one should be by himself, in solitude, by himself. Sometimes the terminology is used in different aspects. When you go to the bank, if you want to go to the kasefet, you want to go to your safe deposit box. So here in Israel, it's called the cheder hitbodedut. He has a little room that he could go take his safe deposit box. No one should bother him, and they say you have privacy. So he goes into a cheder hitbodedut. One time I was with somebody and I went to the cheder hitbodedut. Very cheder hitbodedut, But that's about being with his money alone. But really, his bodedut, he wants here that a person should be alone with himself. People are never alone with them, not alone with themselves. And nowadays, not nowadays. It's been already very many tens of years that people are scared to be with themselves, and always the radio is on, and all kinds of devices that people don't want. They're scared to have time to think. That if the music is not going or the radio is not going, and they're in the car by themselves, so they might think. And people are scared to think, so they put on the news, the radio, whatever it might be, music, and there's a very big advantage of a person being by himself, not to be disturbed. It's very big chiddush nowadays because people are so connected to media that there's noise and communication.
Listen to your thoughts.
Listen to your thoughts, and people don't have the opportunity. Nowadays you have to consciously close yourself off. You have to close the telephone, whatever other machines that can bring in just to be able to think. And a person will be surprised that he has what to think about. There's a lot. If you make a list, what are the things that I should be thinking about? You never even have time to think of what the list is even. And I think that it's an amazing thing that it says that hesach hadas means when a person is, what's the English word for hesach hadas? When a person's distracted, the person is distracted. Hesach hadas. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Nowadays, technology gets more and more into people's inner lives, and they don't have opportunity to even think what they think themselves. They have no time to think. So this is, if it ever was important, it's even more important nowadays that a person should have time to be with himself. So what is he supposed to think in those times? What is the true path according to the laws of the Torah that a person should be going in? What should be his path of life? That means it seems to be like taking all of these subjects and making an essay about them, like a ma'amar, to write an essay according to your own knowledge. Take a subject and write, what do I think about it? And a person will be amazed. It isn't so simple. It means he has things inside of him that he would be able to, that he really has opinions, but organize it, put it down on paper. It's amazing that it takes time. I'm not trying to make it too hard. On the contrary, a person shouldn't be scared to do it, but he'll realize, and after he does it for 10, 15 minutes, he'll realize that he didn't pay attention to what he himself knew. And then he has to see now that I think that this is the right way, let's say of kibbut avein, this is the ideal kibbut avein. Let's say, for example, so am I doing that? And davening, he writes down what I think a real prayer should look like. And then after he writes his essay, now he sees, okay, now what am I doing that is aligned with that and is not aligned with that? Many aspects, where he davens, at what time he davens, and next to, who does he sit next to, and how long does it take him? Does he have to say all the words? Maybe you might say that maybe I should say less words and know what I'm saying. Maybe I should think before davening that I'm talking to Hashem, and how he stands in davening, what position he sits. All of that, it's a lot of ramifications. What does it mean to listen to the repetition? Is it just other people's business, or is it my business? Should a person, of course, talk during davening? Anybody, whatever they come up with, what proper prayer is. That's just an example. I don't mean to take a certain specific. Any what does Torah learning mean? What is Shabbos supposed to look like? Very beautiful thing. What is Shabbos supposed to look like? Not what's wrong with my Shabbos. What is Shabbos supposed to look like? And then he could see if I could align myself to it. I think many people, once they start about Shabbos, what Shabbos should look like, a lot of people change their Shabbos. A lot of it is already, people just fall into it, and they really, if they would have time to think and redesign how Shabbos is supposed to look like, maybe they would change a lot.
Change what? What would they change?
Maybe people would make a certain time of how much they sleep. People sleep, maybe they would say, I'm not utilizing the Shabbos. I eat a heavy meal, and then I sleep, and then I go to the mincha, and the whole day is over. What did I do? So it might be that he should also prepare for the family or for the guests what should be spoken about, which takes a lot of preparation. If you want to give something meaningful, Rabbi Shlomo Zilberman used to say that educating a family or any family members or people that you want is the Shabbos table. Shabbos table is a great, great opportunity during the week when things are happening, and b'shas ma'is, even if you have to educate a child or to bring in new values into your home, people don't have time to listen. But by the Shabbos table, that everyone is there and no one's going any place, the phone's not ringing, no place to go, and everyone's enjoying a good meal, maybe some wine, some zmiros, and dessert, whatever it is. People are opened up. People are opened up. He used to say that you'd be amazed. He used to say about children in Dafka that the best education for children is by the Shabbos table, because by the Shabbos table, because when you get a subject going, and they're not attacked, no one's attacking them, but you talk about an abstract idea, and they start talking about it, you're going to hear more, a better Musa Sikha than you could say yourself. Because they have a lot of them. The kids have a lot of them, but they never have an opportunity. It's always when they're attacked. And he says if somebody sees something that needs fixing up, so don't bring it up the next Shabbos because the kid realizes it's about him. Well, write it down, and a month later, bring up the subject. You see the kid stole something, don't say, put it in your notebook for a month down the road, speak about stealing, and the kid will say a big drasha, then he'll realize he himself did it. And so there's a preparation for the Shabbos table, something like that. A great investment that a person can do for his family or any kind of people that are going to be by his table. It's a good time to visit people also. The Shabbos, maybe when the people visit nowadays, it's a forgotten art to visit friends and neighbors. To make so our social life is very very tampered with nowadays. People don't. So it might be something you want to do. Maybe stop, drop in for a neighbor. Maybe there's something a person would want to do on Shabbos. Go to a drasha. Whatever it might be, getting
to people. I could use some shot. Be careful what not to speak about.
What not to speak about?
Business and trends, next day's laundry.
But I like the approach of what is a perfect Shabbos, right? So it really isn't about what am I doing wrong, what am I doing right, but what does it look like?
What should it look like? Ideal, right? That's the Messilas Yesharim. That's his point. When he approaches this whole subject of a person's introspection, he says right away, first think abstract. What is right and what's wrong, and then see, am I aligned with it? Just one example of Shabbos, but everything a person does. I found it very much by other mitzvahs also, and
it's disarming.
A person doesn't feel threatened. He doesn't feel threatened, and that's really the same thing you're doing with children also. That you're not attacking him for anything that he did. But you tell me what's the right thing. Nothing to do with you. It doesn't abstract. What is considered the right thing? How should people act with neighbors? What should be the relationship to the community, to relatives? Are we supposed to have any communication with relatives overseas? Or what is a person? The person's invited to a simcha from a relative. How much is he supposed to be trouble himself to join in other people's occasions? The list goes on and on. But as the Ramchal says many times, that the details are endless, but the klolim are not so many. The rules, means the generalizations. How many general topics could you talk about? Probably 20. 20 is a big list. The person starts even to enumerate the character traits. He'll probably get another 10. How many character traits can we number? 10, 15. So if he gets a list of 35 subjects, he has a treasury of knowledge that he himself really had it buried inside of him, but he has to draw out. The pasuk says in Mishlei, maybe I don't recall the pasuk exactly. Something something v'levish mayim amukim eitza v'levish v'ish tvuna yidlana, something like that. That there's deep wisdom in a person, like as if it's like in a deep mayim amukim, like deep waters, and a person of understanding has to be able to know how to draw it out. So I think the two pshatim said over there, sometimes it's, when you go to the wise man, you have to be smart how to ask the questions, how to draw out the wisdom from him. But there's another understanding in the pasuk that a person himself has deep wisdom, he has to know how to draw it out from within himself. Each person has deep wisdom that he could, if he thinks enough, he'll be able to draw the wisdom from within. So a person has to have time for that. So that's, I think, what is included in this point about his bodedus, that a person should contemplate when he's by himself. What is the proper way that Hashem wants us to go in? And then v'achakach, the second stage, then he should think about his own actions. Am I on this path or not? Because through the system, it's surely going to be easy to purify himself from any evil and to straighten out all of his paths. Weigh the paths of your feet, of your foot, and all of your paths will be established. Means do this weighing, this mishkal. The word palais is to weigh. Like nowadays they use in Hebrew a pelis, a scale, miflas, pelis. So magal is a pathway. So a person should weigh his ways. He should weigh, W-E-I-G-H, his ways. Weigh his ways. Weigh your ways. Okay, we have a new slogan. Weigh your ways. Palis magal raglach, and then all of your paths are going to become established. Another pasuk, nach pasad rechenu v'nach karu v'neshuv ad Hashem. Let us search out our ways and investigate and return to Hashem. So a person has to search out his ways, and they divide it into two stages. Hashkafa Rishona, what is right and what is wrong. Hashkafa Shniya, what am I doing?
This is all in Zahirus.
This is in Zahirus. This is Zahirus has a few program. The first one is what is it? To Perek 2 is what is it in general? To just explain the midah, and then the second Perek Gimel is about the divisions, what it includes, which was these two steps we spoke about, and there's another two program about Zahirus still. One is going to be how to acquire it. It gives you tools to acquire it. It means we know already what it is, but the person has to have some handle on it. What's going to make me do it? And then there's going to be also another parak about the mafsidim, impediments or detractors of the midah, and some things that are interfering with a person's ability to do this, and he has to be able to distance those inhibitors also. So usually all of the midah, all of these subjects, he divides into four prakim. Later on, he sometimes combines prakim together, but for all of them, he talks about these four subjects: what it is, what are its parts, how to acquire it, and what are the pitfalls that he has to avoid. So if we have some more time, so we can go on to the next parak. We'll start the next parak.
You asked the question before.
Oh, right. Thank you. I lost it. So I appreciate it very much. He said before in the mashal that a person is inside the maze, so he won't know. You can't know. They all look the same. All of the walls of those hedges and that labyrinth and that maze are all similar, and you can't know which way you're going. And unless he says the person who's already been there, and he's on top of he sees all the roads, he can see exactly go here, go there, listen to them. And he throws in something which I never understood, I still don't, maybe tonight, that if you've been there already, and then you could know which way to go, right and left, even without being able to see anything, any simanim, there are no landmarks, but he calls it tfiyasayin and bekios, that he knows it because he's been there already before. So it seems very strange.
He's already seen it from up top.
Right. Yes, let's say he's been at that. So now even when he goes into it again, he'll be able to get through the maze also. So it's very nice if you're talking about going through the maze. Like if you're talking about the game, okay, that's the rules, that's the game. But does it have any application? I never got the application why he's telling us this detail, which takes 2 lines to explain, which doesn't seem to be of any value. What is the case of the person who knows that this is the way to get to perfection, to righteousness is going to be what's right and what's wrong? And what am I doing? The Hashkafa Rishon, Hashkafa Shniya, what is right and what is wrong, and am I living up to what I know? That's the secret. That's the big secret. That the people who went through the maze of life and they came out, they realized that that's the only way to do it. And even though you people inside the maze don't realize it, you think, no, I know what's right, I don't need this. I don't have to do this kind of cheshbon, Hashkafa Rishon, Hashkafa Shniya. I know everything already. So trust me. The person on top says, trust me, I'm telling you, even though you don't see the benefit, you start doing it, you're going to find out a lot of chiddushim. So that's the mashal so far, the person that's outside on the tower, and the people that are inside the maze, we're inside the maze, and the wise men, the Moshe Yitzram, they're telling us, listen, do this cheshbon on nefesh, and you'll get out of the maze. That's what makes sense to me.
It's suggesting that you take advice from a person who has already gone through it.
Right, that part I understand. Yeah, that's good. Now he tells us that this wise person,
this is saying that the wise person who went through it, not that you're supposed to take advice from him, but he himself has a advantage. What is he saying?
He says that the person who's gone through it and he's on top of the tower, he sees all the different ways, and he says this is the proper way. So listen to him, because he knows, from experience he knows.
So we're supposed to learn from that person, or that person is supposed to teach us?
Both ways. They're teaching us, and his point is that listen to the advice. That those wise people, they say that the way to get through the maze of life, the way to get through all the difficulty is to study and contemplate what is right and what is wrong, and these 2 steps that he said. That's the big wisdom that he says. And people, when they hear it, they're not convinced. I have to study what's right and what's wrong. I know it already. So they're saying, these wise men are saying, trust me, and sit down, take a piece of paper, and write down what are the topics of life, and what do you think about each one. And take those deep waters and draw from your own wisdom eventually draw from other people's wisdom also, but don't take it for granted that you know already what's right and what's wrong. So it makes a lot of sense to me. But he also throws in the mashal that even somebody who's been through the maze, and he goes back into the maze again, he'll be able to get out because because even though it's all the walls look similar, since he's been there already, he knows how to get out of it. So I can't figure out any kind of an nimshal that has any application that has to do to the lesson he wants to teach us. The wise man has already been through the maze, and he knows that people are going through a very confusing life, and they don't know what's why, how they kind of become righteous. This is the way. And now he himself goes back into the maze. Well, what's the nimshal? What is the parallel of the wise man going into the maze again and figuring out and knows how to get out of it because he's been there already?
It seems difficult because you think that he's implying that you could trust yourself, and you should not really be trusting yourself.
I mean, if he would know this information, and if he'd go back into the maze, so he'd know how to get out again, because he has experience. He's not trusting Dafke, he's trusting his experience that he knows how to get out. But I don't get the case at all that the person falls into the maze again.
Yeah,